they're honestly undersold, oversold. I wanted to sit around the table, not this whole setup. I wanted to sit around the table with the parents and we do things a little different here. This is just how I walked into. This is how it's set up. Fine. Just to give a chance for everybody to ask questions. Maybe you have some thoughts. Maybe some things occur to you. Maybe you have suggestions for us. We're completely open to any questions and try to answer them, myself or other staff that are here, or suggestions, things we could do. I'll start off by saying, just because every time we have parents that come and visit, the most common comment I get is, where do I sign up? So we have a few beds left, if you want. It's only a few though. No, seriously though, I think that's maybe the main point. You guys are here because, first of all, you already know your kids need a place like this. You came for Shabbos because you know what this place is for your kids. So I don't need to sell you on anything. And then we just had this Shabbos experience, and from the second it started on Friday, for some of you Thursday night, till now, it's been an uplifting experience, I think, for everybody. I don't think that's a stretch to say that. And you get it. I'm not selling you anything. Which I think maybe the point, the takeaway point is, this is what we offer. This is what this place is. This is the opportunity the Bachrim have when they come here. Why your son, you might wonder, why is my son not that guy? The boy who I see who's thriving. Why is my son debating whether he even wants to stay and finish the year or come back next year? What's wrong? What's going on here? This is the way it works when you're real. When you're real, it's a roller coaster. When you're real, you're going to have high points and everybody's dancing, and you're real. It's like I like to say to the guys, you'd see the Rebbe, simcha, dancing, jumping over tables, and you'd see the Rebbe crying in front of everybody. Sitting in front, on cable, and he speaks about something deep and emotional, and something sad and something tragic. He's crying. It's real. You're going to get what's happening, and so they struggle, and the struggle is there, it's out in the open. That's the difference. The struggles with substances, the struggles with girls, the struggles with their emotions, the struggles with their relationships, with their self-confidence, with traumas, with whatever's going on. It's out there, and so what we are is what we are. It's all we can be. That's all we know how to do. That's all we know how to be. And the best thing you could do for your son, if he hits one of those points where he's shaky, he doesn't know, is to just try to be there for him. That's it. Just be there for him. He's already hearing whatever he needs to hear. The only thing you can give him is love and full, complete acceptance as he is. That doesn't mean you're putting a hechsher on what he does. Get that idea out of your head if you have some remnant of that idea left. You loving your son completely and being there completely listening, completely present, tuned into him, is zero stamp of approval on what clothes he wears if you don't like that, or how much he's keeping this or that or the other thing. It's irrelevant. On the contrary, you'll be there for him 100%. He'll end up finding exactly what he needs, and he'll grow with no games and no defense mechanisms and no hiding and no trying to throw you off or get you off his back. Being imposing, once somebody's already tasted a little bit of negativity, a little bit of too much struggle, a little imposing, it just backfires. It just can't help. It can't. It's not that it doesn't. It never will. Even if you'll succeed and you'll get him to do what you want, it's not going to be good for him in the long run. So you'll get him to do it, and even if he'll stick to a lifestyle that you want him to, he's not going to be happy doing it. And ultimately, our Yiddishkeit should be happy, and our lives should be happy, and there's no reason why you can't be the best of everything and happy doing it. So it's maybe, it's a little rough watching it happen, peeling away all the layers, and people have to unravel before they can be rebuilt. But that's the price to pay. That's what we pay that price for our kids. So I didn't prepare anything to say. I have no notes. I didn't prepare anything. I wanted to just open up the floor if anybody has any questions, any insights, suggestions for us, advice, whatever. I do want to say that based on what a few fathers have asked me, I would be open to doing something maybe smaller scale throughout the year, like 5, instead of cramming everybody into motel rooms uncomfortably, and instead of a big production, which just took a lot of effort from our staff, from us, and from you guys, and there's pressure on the bathroom, like my father should come, and my father didn't come. Maybe throughout the year, we'll have maybe like one Shabbos a month, which will be like an invitation. First 5 who sign up, you can come and have your own room. You want to come with your wife and kids, no problem. No teenage girls, that's about it. But you want to come any Shabbos throughout, we'll have like a few select Shabbosim. And it's not just true now. There are some fathers, you've been here, or we're going to see you've been here before. There are a few others who've been here before for Shabbos. But that was, they picked up the phone, they called me, or they said, I want to come. No problem, but the rooms are there. And it could be more comfortable and less of a production, but your kid will know you're here for him. And it could be very impactful. It might not be as fun for you. We had a lot of fun, I think. But it's still going to be nice. And I'd encourage it. You just have to let me know. I also want to thank many of you who do things for the guys. You host the Bachram, you fed them like they came back after that trip to Florida. The way you fed them was unbelievable. Guys come to you for Yamim Tovim, and they talk about it for months later, years later. Shluchim have been going for years to your place. I consider it's not even a visiting sort of thing. You're an extension of Wilkes, and a feeder to Wilkes, and the graduate level of Wilkes guys. And you host the guys for Shabbos, and Fabrangen, the guys were raving about. In whatever way. And come here, have guys. It could be physical, it could be spiritual, it could be a Fabrangen, it could be whatever. I understand it's not practical, it's not pressure. Some of you live far away, some of you, your house doesn't work that way. It's fine, totally fine.
I have a question.
Yes.
You must have so many difficult problems with some of these Bachram. Do you have anyone that you could go to if you need to seek advice about something that you don't experience?
Oh, we don't pretend to know it all at all. So I have psychologists that I speak to, a Lubavitch guy who's a shliach, who I think gets it, and he's my, so to speak, go-to person for, I'd say, borderline medical psychological issues. There's other people I talk to if it's more, practical stuff. Depending what the issue is. But yeah, we absolutely consult. Part of our challenge has been that aside from people like this guy I'm talking about, we're kind of the pioneers in this. So there's not, what we're trying to do here, in other words, is not really what anyone else is doing on any scale. Maybe a therapist is doing this in his private practice. And there are some good, from therapists who are doing this sort of thing where they're not trying to get you more they're not trying to make your parents happy. They're not trying to get anything out of you except bring you to your best self. And so it's tricky. We have to figure out a lot of it trial and error. It's been a journey. We're still figuring it out. And I think the day that we think we figured it out, we should probably shut down. We don't figure it out, but we know which things don't work, and we know which things help. And we want more of the stuff that helps and stay far away from the stuff that doesn't. And we still make some mistakes. We try to learn from those mistakes.
I feel bad interjecting, but I think it's also important to say, when it comes to frum teenage boys, the number one professional in the world is standing in the room right here. He is the best. No, I mean it. He's the best of the best. So therapists, psychologists, psychiatrists, they don't know what he knows. They learned a lot of information. They're very good at dealing with specific emotional or mental issues, but overall, he's a professional. He really is the best. It's hard to accept that always, but really, so we're in a little bit of a rough situation when you're the top in the game, and this is where you're at. It's hard to get advice from other people when you're a professional.
I don't know, whatever. I look for advice. I try to get advice. Yes.
No question. I have no question about what's happening here. I'm very, very grateful. I'm wondering, I've talked to people, and I've heard people ask it, such a program for girls.
Yeah.
Is there, what could we do to make such a, because it's not, each one has their unique situation, but
Is there something catering even somewhat close to this?
So I'm aware of 2 programs. Huh?
So hard, I think.
You want to say but that's only seminary.
So hard, you're saying like.
Yeah, it's just seminary and it's
Oh,
different,
seminary.
whatever.
yeah, it's,
What I'm aware of, there's a high school in Crown Heights. Downside is it's in Crown Heights.
You have to be remote.
Huh?
You need to be remote like this.
You're saying isolated.
Yes.
I'm saying remote these days means on Zoom. You know? They don't need to be on Zoom. There's a place in Israel, but I think it's also a seminary. I know a little bit about it. The only reason I know about it because they called me before they opened up for a couple questions.
It's a seminary,
Uriah, yes, Uriah, yeah. For high school, I only know this place in Crown Heights. Dina Gorkin runs it. Nos Chomesh. I've heard great things. I know some girls have gone there. Some a niece or 2 of mine, and some 2 or 3 nieces of mine. They love it. They love the people there. The downside is it's in Crown Heights, which is a very big downside, very big risk for a lot of teenagers. We've seriously given it consideration. We've been asked by parents that are here, by parents that don't have sons here. We've seriously given consideration if we could find a spot an hour or 2 away from here, where what's the huge challenge besides finances? The huge challenge is we actually know what it takes to do this, and finding people to do this on this level. And this is not a toot the horn thing, but you gotta be crazy. It's not, and that's not a compliment. That's just a reality. You gotta not just you, but in that you're the husband, the wife. You have to be willing to do this, and this is your life, and that is your family, and not that many people are ready to do that. There are people. For Bachram in the last 5, 6, 7 years, so now they're like 7 to 8 alternative, let's call them alternative yeshivas. And some of them are former students of ours or former shluchim of ours, a couple of them. But the idea that's gotten out there is that you can do things different than a regular mainstream yeshiva. And that's great. Each of them, from what I've seen, generally has their sort of specialty. So, it's still not this. I think what's different here is that we're actually willing to be in a place like this. And we're willing to, like, our Shabbos table is the Bachram's Shabbos table. And our family, they came to the meal here, not because they didn't know what to do for a Shabbos meal. They're part of this thing. That's their life. That's our life. That's our family's lives. That's the thing. That's what we do. The way, Tachtel is a campus shliach, like, that's your family's life. I've spoken to like mashpiyim and people in other yeshivas. I've had this discussion. I was telling him something very basic. I said, why don't you guys, in this mainstream yeshiva, why don't you have Bachram by your Shabbos table? So he said, well, first of all, that's not how we think. Second of all, even if we thought that, I do it like twice a year. And I send my wife and daughters to the kitchen. And like they set up a table there. I'm like, hold on a second. The Rebbe's idea is shlichus, right? And you have a campus Chabad house or you have a regular Chabad house, so you send your daughters to eat in the kitchen? No, it's their shlichus. The problem is the mentality that somehow these guys are risky and dangerous, and my family is pure and innocent and vulnerable. And so how could we all be at the same table? So I think one of the beautiful things you see at a Shabbos like this is that the most dangerous looking guys, even when there's 50 of them and they're a mob, are the sweetest, purest guys. They're not dangerous. They're just, you have to see it the right way. You have to make a space they're comfortable in. You have to make a space that's home for them, a place they can trust people, a place they can express themselves. If you make a place like that, there's no danger. You'll bring out the best in them. You'll be impressed by them, which I find when I send guys to shluchim, say 80% of the time. Now, some places that they go on Shabbatons or summer trips or whatever, some places they go, they're not made to feel so comfortable, so it doesn't always bring out the best. But generally speaking, you're going to get the best out of them. And I'm not talking about it as a manipulation. You create a space where they can shine, they'll shine. They're not trying to struggle. They're struggling because of factors. Get rid of the factors. So I was saying to this guy, he works in regular yeshiva, why don't you guys look at it like they're your shlichus? The Bachram are, this is what we're here for. They're not a threat to your daughters. It's your attitude that's the threat.
I can tell you when the Bachram come to me, maybe the first day they wanted to be like the students. Time they leave, they're having chavusas with students, teaching students Mamona.
Right.
They became the shliach.
Correct.
And my students love. For them, there's no definition of these guys are the Bachram.
Right.
And they love it.
Right.
But they're empowered to be the Bachram. You can get scared. Oh yeah, I might bring them to campus and they're gonna run off someplace. No, Baruch Hashem, the yeshiva is very clear with them what they're allowed to do and what they're not allowed to do before they come.
And I want to add, even if someone's gonna slip up and make a mistake, it's not a disqualifier.
Students
We
love it.
don't make
Oh, yeah.
mistakes. Can we be honest here? We as parents, as fathers, as rabbis, as teachers, we don't make mistakes. We become disqualified if we slip up.
What's a mistake?
What's the difference? What's the difference? Okay. What I'm saying is, yeah.
Let's make it stronger.
It's a waste
What I'm saying is, where did this attitude come from in the frum world, in the Hasidic world, in the Lubavitch world, that somehow we pretend we're perfect and we expect kids to be perfect? They're teenagers. They just discovered they have a brain of their own. They don't have to listen to Tati and Mommy for everything, and they won't be struck by lightning. That's like big discovery. They don't listen to the Rebbe, the teacher, and the ground won't swallow them up. They realize that. Then they discover they have a body, and hormones, and friends, and we expect perfect. Where did that come from? That if you look back and read anything in Jewish history, it never worked that way. It was never even attempted that way. The problems people came to their Rav for, the problems people came to Rabbanim for, were real problems. It wasn't have to pretend you live on some other artificial level. Anyways,
You're there to help each person. It makes a world of a difference. Because it's not about information. The boy or the girl who wants information wants to learn, you put them in a library.
jump but quietly.
You put them in a library, they don't need a teacher. There's someone here, right, that needs someone to make them know that they matter.
So, what I want to say about that is, we deal with a lot of other yeshivas, aside from the fact I have children, boys and girls, that have gone to many of the yeshivas and schools already. A lot of good people. There are a lot of good people. There are some who I agree shouldn't be there. And it's a job. It's just what they thought that they can make a living doing. Whatever you call it, if you call it a living. But what they could put food on the table doing. And then there are many who are there for all the right reasons. And it becomes very hard to do in the system and with the overwhelming numbers. Schools are too big. Pressure from above. And it's not just pressure from above. A lot of the, I'm not going to say blame, but a lot of the problem, I've seen this firsthand, is parents of students say, how could you tolerate that kid who did that next to my son, my daughter? And it puts pressure like crazy on principals, on Rosh Yeshivas, and it's a vicious cycle. And so one of the things I wanted to point out is what you saw yesterday. And someone mentioned, I know Dr. Schoenbach mentioned it yesterday, and I think a couple others did as well. One of the things we're trying to do is the guys become the givers to each other. Like you're saying, they become the givers. But they don't have to become the giver to society yet, but they become the givers to their roommates. And just by getting them to start taking care of each other, so now the whole thing changes. You're no longer just here on the receiving end as Nebuch, a child, a kid, helpless. You're a giver, you have what to offer, you're valuable, and it changes the whole framework, and it doesn't make you perfect. It doesn't mean you'll never make a mistake. It doesn't mean anything like that. But it's now you're living a real life, and now you know what you're capable of. And so it's changing that, and that's something we can all do at home. You ask your kid, who usually comes home, and you just try to make sure walk on eggshells and make sure you don't mess with him. Make sure you don't trigger him. Make sure, how about take some initiative and ask him to help with something he's good at. Help something he's sensitive to. With a sibling, with a neighbor, with a friend's kid who needs something. You'll be amazed that the kid who struggles with whatever he struggles with in Yiddishkeit or in life or whatever, he'll be running and feel like $1,000,000 if you can like say, hey, you have experience with this. Why don't you go talk to the neighbor's kid? I think he could use a positive influence, a friend, or to your 10-year-old brother, and just spend some time with him. Don't tell him what to do. Trust him to do what he needs to do.
That's a great segue. How do you want to empower the kids when they're coming home for break now for 3 weeks out of
We speak to them. We speak.
What's your tools for the parents?
Well, it's for parents.
Yeah.
So for parents, it's really what we're talking about right here. Don't look at their time home as how do I treat this fragile situation, and either try to squeeze as much cooperation out of him as I can, or try to keep as much distance as I can. Like, and I remember working, with this. You're allowed to ask for things, but don't ask for them because I'm right and I'm your father and I demand this from you. Ask them how you can help them be them. How can I help you have the best Pesach? What would you like to do at the Seder? What part do you want to do? What part interests you? Do you have any suggestions for the Seder? Do you want to prepare something? If they say no, they say no. But change the discussion. It's not about how can I get you on board with me. It's how can I get on board with helping you for you. And again, you'll be amazed at how responsive, how receptive they are. Now, it's going to be tougher with a 15, 16-year-old than an 18, 19-year-old. No question about it. So pace yourself, and with the 15, 16-year-olds, sometimes your best bet is just lay low, give them space, let them know you love them, compliment what you can. But I once heard something from a psychologist. I think they said that the ratio is the way a kid hears things, and this is a person in general, 9 compliments get drowned out by 1 insult. That's a person. A human being hears 9 times positive, 1 time negative. They remember the negative, they don't remember the positive. That's like a powerful line. That's powerful. So it means it's got to be at least better than 10 to 1. At least. It would be better if it was 0 on the negative. Because we all know where that leads. It doesn't do a thing. Nothing good. It's not going to help. If you think you have to protest like for the Inyan, you have to speak up and say, this really bothers me. Because you have to just a formal protest. I have to file the complaint. I assure you, your kid knows it bothers you. He's not doing it to bother you unless he's in a really, really bad place. And if that's the case, the last thing he needs from you is, that bothers me. He's either doing it because he knows, rarely, but that means he's in a terrible headspace. He's in a terrible matzah. So go help him. He's nabach. He's suffering. He's screaming. He's crying. And he doesn't know how to scream and cry, so he just tries to trigger you. Or he knows it bothers you and he can't control himself, which is most of the time. He knows. He can't control himself. It bothers him too. But he can't control himself. He wishes. You know how many times guys come to us and say, they've started already a week or 2 ago. How many times guys have come to us in the last week or 2 already, and it's going to happen for the next 10 days. How do I keep a schedule? How do I get up for davening every day? How do I stay away from this and that and that? What am I supposed to do about my smartphone? As much as they fight with Levi and Riasi about their phones all week, some of them have given up and have sort of realized it's better for them. As much as many of them still fight, they know this is their problem. And here, at least, we take it away. It's hard to do at home, especially with track records and history and whatever. It's a real problem. I don't know.
Should we limit the phone at home?
I can't answer that as a blanket thing. In concept, none of us should have it. In concept. But problem is,
I don't think you can take it away from them at home.
the problem is once they have it. So you can block things. You could make a phone that just has WhatsApp. So those are also, there's some risks involved, but you could block a lot of things. The problem is, once the cat's out of the bag, so the kids already got one, it's a problem. But you could learn for your next child. You can learn that not always you have to give them what they want.
Or I think that you empower kids. I don't know. Obviously, every kid is unique and everyone's special, and each Levi and Yossi have their unique relationships. I was always inspired, especially in the last room, so my kid comes home. like he comes over to me specifically, let's say before Shabbos, for Yom Tov, and says, please put my phone away.
Yeah.
Meaning, we don't ask for it.
Yeah.
So obviously, you shouldn't control your kid, because if you can control your kid, they'll go and buy a phone in Walmart. It might make your own emotional thing feel good. If your kid comes to a situation like you do so well here, having them own their responsibility of their phone, unless if you make a challenge before they come home, like, obviously every kid's different, I don't even know what your magic words are. I just see that they come home and they say, here, take my phone for Shabbos, take it for Yom Tov, take it. Because they're recognizing they don't want to have that challenge of having the phone.
So, I mean, you hit on the main point, which is there's no magic, first of all, zero. All that we do here is get the kid to realize it's your life. That's it. If it's your life, it's your life. Now, how can we help you? And that's for some kids that takes a month, some kids that takes 2 days, and some kids that takes 2 years, 3 years, 4 years. Because some kids, they're so scared, so defensive, so traumatized, so disturbed, that no matter what you say to them, they think you're coming to hurt them. They think you're coming to impose. They think you're coming to make them be something you want. Take away their freedom, their independence, their personality. But for a kid who's not in such a bad situation, sometimes days, a couple weeks, maybe a month or two, and this is something that Levi's great at, Yossi's great at. It's everybody who works here. We're just the most experienced three of us here. Put the ball in their hands. Ask them, what do you want to do? And the thing is, you can only do this if you trust that your kid's good. If you think your kid's bad, you can't do this. Because what do you want to do? Oh, what I want to do is, you can't even mention it. Your kid wants good. You're a good person, your kid's a good person. We're all Yidden, we have neshamas. What do you think? What do you think your kid wants? He wants to give you nachas. He wants to be great. He wants to live up to his potential. He didn't decide one day, I think I'm going to be a jerk. No one does that. I think I'm going to do whatever I can to make my parents' lives miserable. No one does that. People are in pain, people suffer. And how do you handle suffering? How do you respond to pain? So ask yourself, how do you respond to pain and suffering? You might scream a curse word. Okay, maybe you're better than that. You don't do that. Maybe inside your head you say, oh God, what are you doing to me? What do you do? So you have more responsibilities and more experience and more self-control maybe. But you have the same reaction. The kids have the guts or the lack of responsibilities or enough anger that when they feel it, they just say it. And some kids more, some kids less. So when they feel it, they express it. They're angry, they're upset, they're scared, they're anxious. Not to mention, a lot of them are actually struggling with real things. It doesn't mean anyone wronged them. It doesn't mean anyone did anything terrible to them. But there are real things people struggle with. So get them help. The biggest help is, I'm here to help you. Going through life alone is the most impossible, unbearable thing. And if the father, mother are not there, then your kid's going through life alone. There's nothing worse than that. What won't a person who's on his own do in order to just not feel miserable? They'll do anything. To find acceptance, to find a group to be part of, to find support, to find validation, to find someone who cares about them even though they don't really care about them, but hey, it looks good. It feels better than being on my own and knowing no one cares about me. I'd rather pretend in my head someone cares about me, some guys that I make trouble with. Some gang I belong to, some group, whatever you want to call it. Yeah.
I wanted to, just being that we're all fathers, we have kids, so I figured I'll share what I personally do when it comes to cell phones with my kids.
Sure.
It's true you can't take the cell phone away from them, but I make it very, very clear to them. And I say to them, you see this gadget? This gadget can take you to the unimaginable, but it's not designed for that. The gadget, it's designed for you to control the gadget, not for the gadget to control to you. So at any given time, you feel, and once again I emphasize to them that, each person cannot fool himself. In other words, he's always honest with himself and he knows the truth himself. So but the minute you feel that it's beginning to control you, that's when you have to push a stop. And you push a pause and you ask yourself, and be honest with yourself. Am I doing the right thing? I said, I'm not gonna be a policeman. I'm not gonna check up on you. I'm not gonna go and say, hey, give me a phone. It's not gonna happen. I will not be doing that to you. And I want you to, you're at this age, like 16, 17, 18, at this age, if you wanna learn how to take responsibility and be successful in life and future and work and business and whatever, wherever you're gonna go, you have to learn to be a leader. A leader is someone that has full control.
Speaking to them like an adult, which is good. Saying speak to them like
That's the way I
man to
talk to
man.
them, and
Yeah.
that's the way to, and Baruch Hashem, it does work. For me, at least, and I'm just sharing it because, you know,
Yes.
it works for me, and
Mark-
in a
Mark
sense I
doesn't
empower
work.
them. In a sense I empower them. They're not in a room thinking, oh, I hear my father's footsteps, I'm gonna, you know, it's more of a responsibility. So it's something that works.
If it gives you any menucha, the Bachram stress about this, maybe a little more than you stress them, but maybe more than you stress about them about it. I just found out on Purim, like, I don't think we discuss openly too much about things like this. How many Bachram are like, they have apps, I'm on 180 days, they're getting guys to join their groups on it. You said your son handed you and your phone. There are a lot of shluchim that have already deals with Bachram over the breaks to do these things. They're pretty self-conscious about this themselves, and they don't like it about themselves. When they're beat down about it, it takes their eye off the prize. Instead of worrying about the phone, now they're thinking about the person who's worrying about them on the phone. So now they just stop worrying about the phone. But by themselves, they're pretty darn worried about it.
I was gonna say that that's a good points. These conversations are happening constantly over here with the guys bringing it up themselves. Again, it does make a little bit difference in the age. The older guys start realizing a little bit more. The younger guys a little bit less. But everybody, we had a circle on Friday, and the conversation was, what do I need to do to keep myself positive? I had so much growth this year. How do I keep it over break? And cell phones came up. Waking up for a million came up. Exercise came up. I've heard from many rabbis and many therapists and psychologists that, what a mother and a father could give to their kids, all the professionals in the world can't give them. But at the same time, meaning a father and mother's love to their kid, that's priceless. You can't get it anything else. You can't recreate it with anybody else. At the same time, a place like us, we have a tremendous ability to have an impact on your kids. And this is an area where you should totally use it. So you might not be able to tell your kid, hey, don't use your phone and you need me to monitor it. But you could reach out to a shliach, you could reach out to one of us, and maybe you'll offer a mitzvah, an incentive. And it's not coming from you. It's coming from one of the shluchim, like, hey, I know you're struggling with this. Maybe, over break, you down with me every day. When you come back, I'll take you to pizza. It doesn't have to be, crazy extravagant. You don't have to throw thousands of dollars, but we're in that position where we could help them, not as their parent, right, but as the yeshiva, as the school, as their friends, as their support. And most of the guys in yeshiva, without any of these things, they already want it. They're already looking for it, they're coming over. Some of them, you brought up one example, but guys come over to me, lady, we make a mitzvah that if we don't do, they're a little bit, I'm like, guys, let's.
So for people should know this, there's an organization that's kind of handling this on a Klal Yisrael big level, that my wife and I went to a Shabbaton, incredible, guy Shimon Russell, I don't know if you have Kasher Nafshi.
Yeah.
Very wonderful organization, they have Shabbatons going on all the time, different cities. Families get groups of families that are struggling in that city, have their own Shabbatons, and this is the issue. This is real. Every family is dealing with the same exact situation. I have kids like this, and it's just about acceptance and love and how to
No magic.
no magic. No,
But it's a magical
it's
result.
available and it's not a wonderful organization to take advantage of. Look it up. Yeah.
One of the benefits of having this group chat is you can say, if we did this for Pesach, and you start sharing ideas.
Yeah.
Oh, we didn't think of this. It's working with your kid, maybe it's working with my kid. And you share ideas.
Help each other.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
If that's the only thing that came out of this Shabbos, it's that we were.
No, I'm just saying, just really to.
No, I'm serious. Even if just that group, and it helped 2 or 3 or 4 families.
But I want to ask you, I was very impressed with everything I saw in Shabbos, but every kid's different, every kid needs something else.
Yeah.
Some kids over here, I see that maybe they're a little older already, but they're sitting and learning. I'm so impressed, and they're doing it on their own. It's amazing.
I don't see my kid doing that so fast. I mean, I know my son, Vernon, he's just not interested.
Mhm.
But every kid wants to feel, every kid wants to feel like accomplished, you know? So if it's gonna be Limud Kodesh, if it's not gonna be Limud, is it something else? What can we do a little more to?
I'm glad you brought it up. One of our biggest struggles is to give them areas like to branch out into or to
Right.
do. So what we do is we offer it all.
Okay.
The problem is we don't have the resources to provide like a full top to bottom teacher place. So for example, what I mean is there's been times when we teach computer coding for guys, that's where they're going to excel, that's where they're going to feel good. Some guys learning GD, some guys are learning SMIC, some guys are doing vocational stuff, building, fixing, renovating, some guys are working on car mechanics, some guys are artists, some guys are musicians.
But how can we make it more
So
serious?
the problem, I'm just telling you the problem we have is we've offered, and these things are all offered right now, and all of those things I just mentioned have been in working with animals. All of them have been tried this year. The problem is I don't have the resources to have a person who can be there every day doing this for 2 hours and a place and all the tools. So what we try to do is we try to find what are more guys interested in, at least 4 or 5. So what it's come down to is there's a few guys coding. So we had a guy come in and do coding, but it's like 3, borderline 4 guys, and it's not strong
You
enough.
have to be serious about it.
The problem is, so it's resources. You know, it's if we had $10 million, so I'd have it all there, and if it's 2 kids benefiting, good. But I don't have the resources, so I can't just put it out there and see if somebody benefits. I have to try to get it to a point of, okay, there's enough mass here to be able to go do this. It's worth it. I have limited resources. I can put it towards a guy to teach them some mechanics. I can put it towards something with animals. But part of the problem is with these guys, because they're so varied, 2 of them are interested in mechanics, 2 of them want to work with horses, 2 of them want to build, 2 of them want to paint, 2 of them are artists, 2 of them musicians. It's almost impossible. So the only other way to do it would be tutors, where your kid, in other words, where it's now like I need to put the financial burden out back to you guys or to share it. Like I can't pay some dude $30, $40 an hour to come in and do music with your kid, but I'll give maybe something, and you're gonna have to pay for a tutor. Well, we'd love to have it. I mean, we have the challenge of being out here, which you guys are here now. You see this place. It's amazing that we're here. The big challenge is personnel. It's a great place for them. It's a great place, the Gashmis, it's a great place for their headspace. It's a great place physically, sports, freedom, distractions, all that. The downside is it's not as accessible to a music teacher, to even a GD teacher. We struggled, but we have one now. So that part I work on. But I'm just saying is I work with limited resources. I work with those limitations in my head, which make it tough. It's like I know I'm only looking in this pool for talent. I can't go compete with the college who they're hiring.
Right.
I can't pay those people. So I'm looking in the fringes for people who can give an hour, give 2. What I really, really look for is shluchim who have those abilities. So we lucked out, for many years we've had guys who are, Baal Tshuva, older Bacher, came through Mayanot or Tiferes, and computer programmer, math teacher, science teacher, Gemara teacher, like perfect. We had that. We had another guy, whatever, math teacher, engineer. We've had other guys with art, with music, but I don't have a lot of that right now. The one thing you could help with is if you're interested in something like that and you're able to contribute so that I know I have more to work with. Be a little more proactive, get on my case. With then my kid would really do better with this. If you know, I'm saying literally, if you know from guy, a Laboucher, a Bacher, an older Bacher, even a young couple that would want to be part of this. And I'm looking anyways for a live-in, full-time maintenance person, builder, project guy. I would seriously try to hire someone. An older Bacher, a young couple, for that kind of stuff. And a musician who could teach music, an artist who could teach art. I don't have the money to do all of this, but I could pick 1 or 2 of them and then match it up with other jobs that we need here. And I want to do that. But to your point, and which is it's a big part of this, let's be honest, our guys, the kids here, that part of the reason they're here is for us to help them figure out what they want. So we do exactly what you said. We bring in speakers on certain things. A couple weeks ago, we had a medical guy came in, and he came in and introduced the guys to the medical field And it was a pretty nice turnout. And the follow-up to that was he's supposed to set us up. He can't come very often. He runs a bunch of, what kind of places? I don't know, some urgent care type stuff, whatever. Young, from guy. And he's supposed to set us up with some people that work under him that can come out here every 2 weeks or so. Maybe it could even be once a week, every Sunday when they're off work. And it's 6, 7, 8 guys interested. They might want to pursue that field. We've done that with photographers, with computer coders, with graphic designers. Not this year. I'm saying we've done all of that. We try to gauge the interest of the guys. The hard part here is we're talking about guys walk in, they don't know what they don't even know what they don't know about themselves. So after 6 months or a year, so now they know something, and now they know, so we try to then go from there to, okay, now let's see what we can provide.
Right? A couple of weeks ago, me and Les were learning to drive. Some guy was smoking a cigarette who worked at some like aerodynamic engineering company. And we knew like one bacher over here that has an interest in these things. We connected them and they met up or whatever. Guys liked horses. We went to like 3 different stables. We literally just knocked on the door, 3 different stables, until one of them said, "Oh, we'd love to have guys." And we had guys going consistently there. There were guys that used to go to a.
There's a cow somewhere in America that's named after one of the Bachram because
he delivered a cow, literally.
Yeah. I'm not joking.
This is a real story. We have these. But in other words, where do you come into play? What I'm saying is, I don't force anybody. Here's what you need to do in the afternoon. A lot of times parents actually want me, tell my kid he must get a GED or he must start his college grade. I'm not going to force that.
We don't force them everything in Yiddishkeit. We're going to force them, no, but your father wants you. We're not doing that.
Encourage it.
No, we do encourage. But what Yassi's saying, what he's saying is that you could push your kid that I want you to come back with this. Not because if not, it's a waste, but I want you to feel good about yourself. I want you to know in a year from now more where you want to head. For us, it's very tricky. We're willing to try everything, but our thought is we want to try everything to get you going. We're not because of the certificate.
Of course.
But you
not
can.
Even because of the certificate, but I think it makes a difference when they see that there's a goal and they came home with something tangible.
You're right.
Accomplished
I'll
this.
tell you, this is one of my big internal dilemmas. Should we be stricter and have more of a defined curriculum in general? And I go back and forth, test, report, that kind of stuff. I think it's more damage than good. We don't do it. But there's definitely some benefit. It's not that it's a useless, negative thing.
For some kids and for some kids.
Right. So the problem is, how do you run a system like that?
I don't think we should underestimate the fact that everybody over here knows a lot of people, and you might know somebody who would be a great Fabringer for our guys. You might know somebody or be somebody yourself who could do a Zoom with our guys in a certain subject or a certain idea, which we work really hard on. They try really hard bringing people into Fabringer to talk about different things. You might think what do I have to offer? But you might be a businessman and you coming and speaking to the guys. They see real life. They see real life. I think it's very, very special for a lot of Bachram to see parents because they get to see. We live in a bubble over here. We're in a total cocoon, and you calling up a friend of yours, or again, it could be you yourself, and sharing your time, sharing your experience, and it doesn't always have to be man inspirational. It could just be some real life stuff. That's also a massive resource that we need over here, and we could really use your help.
Thank you. On that point, I used to have a stockbroker. He's a guy retired, but he did stocks. Played with his money. And he used to come in once a week and do a stock game with the guys. I mean, like a long-term thing. We're going to do this game. This theoretical, you have these stocks, you buy. Let's see how it plays out over 6 months. And that really opened up some guys. We did this with a real estate guy. Right now, I don't have those people here. But that's what we'd like to do. And that could be Zoom. That could be a parent. That could be a friend. That could be... If guys are interested, you might think your job is boring, or you might think your job doesn't hold any appeal to the guys. You're wrong. It might not appeal to every guy, but it really doesn't matter what you do. There's some guy out there who's thought, maybe I want to do that. Come talk. Come speak to the guys. And I want to reiterate, you can come with your family for a Shabbos, so the mothers can be part of that also.
I came in one night, I was driving back home. I drove by and...
It's just on the way.
Champagne.
I drove. I wasn't out of the way. We drove here with my family. My wife and kids. They stayed in the motel, and we were with the guys till 2 a.m. I was like, what am I gonna do it for? You know something? It was unbelievable. And everyone else here, we have our professions, and I think there's nothing more important than a bacher to see that their parent or their friend's parent is not perfect, and you could be from, and you could be successful in the world. Everyone is there, every one of us here, we have different industries that we're in, and we always think we have to be some big eye to talk. You know, people are not looking for big people. People are looking for real. I asked someone recently to speak to my student. He said, Rabbi, I'm not a professional speaker. I said, that's why I'm asking you. I don't want a professional speaker. You want to have a guy that is real, his struggles, and his real life, and how did they wake up in the morning and be Jewish and go into work, whatever their industry is.
I think a good question to be asked, because I get asked this often from parents. I mean, I have thoughts on it, but I guess you can share. Is there ever a place for discipline, and if you had to go about it? Because certain people, they come here and they go, oh wow, it's so beautiful, you know? They think that, you know, it's, you know, rainbows and flowers here, and everything has a nice music in the background. But at the heat of the moment when the kid's home, either they feel they can't do that, or I think they may have probably misunderstanding what happens exactly here. Is there ever a place for it, or? Well,
Sorry, I'm not trying to be rude, but can I get, on 3, can I get Mazel Tov? 1, 2, 3. Mazel Tov!
Who's engaged?
My sister just had a baby girl.
Is that what you believe in you? We have no idea what we're saying.
I was just trying to show you how groupthink works. I shouldn't have looked at my phone, but I'm glad I did. So, in terms of discipline, it's always case by case. You know, what you have to do is you have to remember what the point of discipline is. Discipline is not a control mechanism. Discipline is a way to steer energy in a direction. I understand it's not how we think of it, but discipline, Gvura, the whole idea of discipline, it's like river rushing, water rushing downstream. Discipline is like the riverbank. It's the channel the water is in. It keeps it flowing in this space where it can be productive, helpful. If you have a river filled with water, and it has banks, it has sides, so all that water can turn electric power and power of Buffalo's houses with electric lights and heat. All that power can be a place you can send boats down, shipping, recreation, go fishing. If you don't have the riverbanks, you don't have the sides, you just have water rushing, we call that a flood. Discipline, Gvura, is not there to, it's not a tool, it's not a weapon, it's not a weapon that you use for any end of its own. Gvura is there, discipline is there to help you steer energy. If you don't know how what you're doing to discipline, how it steers your kid's energy, don't do it. That's not discipline, that's weaponry. That's a problem. That's bad habits. That's you letting out on your kid what they did to you. That's just doing stuff for no reason. But it's worse than no reason because it causes a lot of harm. Discipline for discipline's sake? No. I want you to be a mensch. If you don't know how this is going to help, but this is what they said, someone said, or someone to me said this would make you a mensch. Maybe it's the opposite.
It's so difficult to put it in an example because you just said something very broad. But like, could you give an example? It's like a practical example of like where maybe the way people normally look at it and
yeah. So your kid does, let's say something very neutral, whatever, not neutral, but something just annoying, not terrible, but they get really loud and say something inappropriate or at the wrong time or place, like very chutzpah, whatever, inappropriate. Speaking either language in front of siblings or whatever in front of you, or using not the right tone, not the right language, not the right time, something embarrassing, something that would embarrass you in public or at your Shabbos table, whatever. What do you do about that? So the natural reaction is some version of shh with a nasty look on your face and like if I really could, I'd send you out of here. How could you do such a thing? That might be natural reaction for some people. What does that help? Not just doesn't help. What does that tell your kid? You have no control. I can get reactions out of you. You don't know what to do with me. I can push your buttons left and right, which is why do you think they made some, whatever. It could be that they're just completely caught up in something, fine. Could be that they're letting you know, I'm here. They want you to know I'm here. They felt maybe neglected a little. What could help? What kind of discipline would help if a kid's acting that way? Just being very nicely saying to them, like, you want to say something? like either on the side or right there. Did you want to say something? Is something bothering you? Is whatever. Like, take control of the situation. Don't let them push your buttons. It's going to have 1,000 times more success, and your kid's going to get the right message, which is, I hear you. I hear what you're saying. And like sometimes your gut reaction is going to get you, your instinctive reaction is going to get you, but you could correct yourself. You're like, your initial reaction might be, no! And then 10 seconds later, get a grip on yourself and say, oh, I'm sorry, like what's going on? Like, did you need to tell me something? Or, it was disturbing. That speaking like that, if you want to say something, okay, I would like to hear. It's just you caught us all off guard, or you interrupted a conversation, or those words, whatever, You don't even have to explain. They know what they're doing. Either they knew before, or they're doing it on purpose, or they realize as soon as they make a mistake, they realize they made a mistake.
I think a lot of people, having a sidebar convo, sorry for interjecting, that parents have to be comfortable with it. To stop trying to cover up for your kid, like, be proud of them. If they're going to come to show without their hat and jacket, or they're going to come in their shorts or their t-shirt, embrace it. Don't try to hide them.
So I think what people
you try to correct your kid, that's where the kid feels the pressure, and then they're going to act out.
I understand. You're 100% right. The problem is people have a hard time embracing and without making it feel to themselves like they're now faking it. In other words, people have a hard time actually embracing.
You have to work on yourself. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. The Avodah is
on us, exactly.
Not on our kids. We have to work on our Avodah.
Yeah.
You have to
This is a whole nother farbrengen which started yesterday, but we don't have to be God's enforcers. That's not our job. We don't have children because God needed us to go and do His police work for Him, and make sure. We're supposed to teach. We're supposed to educate. We're supposed to get them to discover what they want. They want Torah mitzvahs. They see we want it. They want it. If they see we feel we have to or else, then at the best they're going to be, I'll do it if I have to. But chances are these days they'll have enough chutzpah or enough independence or enough freedom that, if for you it's I have to, for me it's no, I don't even have to. But if you love it, they're going to love it. If you enjoy Shabbos, they're going to enjoy Shabbos. If Shabbos for you is sleep as many hours as you can, it's going to be less than that for them. Even less than that.
I have a personal story. I was a shliach in Wilkes-Barre.
I remember those days.
I was 19 or 20, and I went with my family to California for my cousin's wedding or something. And we ended up going to Montez Shabbos. We went to an ice cream shop on Melrose, and a certain individual was sitting in his car, parked right outside, waiting for Bachram to come to bus them from school, from their yeshiva. And my father used to be really close with this guy. And we're standing in Motzei Shabbos, and I'm wearing a t-shirt. And my father goes, "Oh, so-and-so was right over there, let's go say hi." And he brings me over, and this rabbi is giving me a really, really nasty look. And my father says, "Oh, and this is my son Levi, and this is my other son Zalmi." And he goes, "Well, you should tell your kids that they're embarrassing Lubavitch." Wow. And I locked up, all my emotions went, everywhere that they always go with all those different things. And my father's reaction, it flipped everything around. My father looked at him, and then he looked at me, he put his hand on my shoulder, and he told the guy, "You're entitled to your opinion, but I'm really, really proud of my son. He does amazing things, and he's not embarrassing Lubavitch at all. He might be the future of Lubavitch." That's it. That was my father. And my father's not always that kind of guy. It was a perfect situation, perfect moment. But that acknowledgement from my dad, it gave me. I actually started wearing button-down shirts after that. I couldn't. I had serious trauma with button-down shirts. And then I'm like, wait, I don't have anything that I need or don't need to do. My father is fine with me the way I am. Now I could start doing what I think is right. And I wasn't so little, I wasn't 13, 15, I was 20, I was already in that state of giving, but my father's support over there showing me that he cares about me and he's willing to stand up to somebody who he really looks up to and admires. He wasn't chutzpahdik to him, he just stood up for me, that's it. He stood up for me, and it changed so much of my perspective. And I think all of us, you know what I mean, with our kids, we have the ability to do that all the time, constantly. I think it's what you said. It's important. It's not that I want him to wear t-shirts, and it's not a kosher stamp of approval or anything like that. But my son's my son. Serious.
I'm not gonna get distracted by the clothing he wears. I'm not gonna see him for clothing.
But that's how going to happen when you accept them for who they are, not because they're religious or not religious.
Yeah. But it changes everything.
No one should walk away from you feeling guilty that you're not holding there. It's not right.
No, it's
painful. You want to punch the wall sometimes, and you have to have someone in your life that you could call and let it out on them when you're upset at your kid. Don't let it out on your kid. Have a friend, have a fellow parent, have Yossi Goodman's number, labels, and just let them a voice note, but don't let it out on your
voice
kids.
notes. Yossi's good.
Voice
Yossi's good for voice
Don't
notes.
call. But don't let it out on your kids, because you have to, we also, just like we're talking about the kids, you have to tell it ourselves too. It's hard, it sucks, it's rotten, it's upsetting, it's disappointing. It's not that perfect white picket fence you imagine you're gonna have. Your kids are gonna grow up to be the biggest Talmud Chacham and the greatest kid. They have their own journeys, but that's okay. You have to accept that it is rotten. I think the problem is we're sitting here saying, "Oh wow, we have such a great idea." We're walking out and saying, "I'm such an idiot." I wish I could do like that, parents. We all struggle. We all go through our same garbage. We all learn. The shoemaker's kids don't have shoes. You could be the best teacher, the best therapist, and the best therapist. Your own kids are gonna struggle, and it's okay. It's avoida. It's a big avoida. You have to accept yourself. And you have to accept that it's upsetting. You also have to accept that you can't let it out on your kids. And your kids are not happy about struggling.
The problem isn't the kids, it's us.
Yes.
Well,
I mean,
if
it's
they're struggling when they're
not
younger, they'll struggle less when they're older.
Yeah.
Guys, this can continue as long as
our
jury's ready, but we're
Before
gonna
the
have
winter,
classes to teach.
before the winter,
Thank everybody.
Thank you.